Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Gab Hominem. Quick apology for this particular episode because some timing didn't quite work out as we expected, so our guest did show up a little bit later than we expected, but that's alright. We still have questions that were able to be answered over text that I can relay over voice. The first question was asked of Krystal Laporte about where she came from and how those places that she came from affected her. To start, where were you born and where did you grow up in? And a follow-up to that, how did those places influence you, your work, and who you are today? I was born in Sleepy Hollow, Illinois. When I was about 8 or 9, I moved to Geneva, Illinois. I stayed in Geneva until I was 18. It's hard to say whether it influenced me since I was so different from a lot of the people there. It is a very affluent suburb, and I knew less than 10 people who would say had similar interests to me. Regardless, I ended up meeting friends who I became really close with, and it was actually one of them who showed me what anime was. I was totally the average drama geek, but one of my friends had their birthday in an anime con, so that was where I learned about what anime is. When I moved to Chicago, Illinois for college, I kept going to anime conventions and eventually got into writing remotely for shows. When I moved to Texas for law school, I started voice acting for the company I was writing for and just kept doing it. So you'd probably say it's accurate that you just kind of fell into the business of voice acting? Absolutely. The first time I did Walla, I was petrified. Walla means with all actors, so it's just background noises. It's usually mixed so low that you can't hear the noises. I had done acting and youth opera through school and community theater since I was 10, but anime was my first voice acting industry. I recall in another stream you said one of your first experiences was a tearful one. Is it safe to assume this Walla recording was that one experience? Yes, I had no idea I would be doing it, so most of the Walla was me begging to be let out of the booth. Definitely understandable. How would you say this particular experience influenced your voice acting career, if it had any? Well, once I calmed down, it made me realize that I love voiceover. Had I not done that, I wouldn't have never made the jump from stage theater to microphone. I understand Chris's leap into voice acting is similar in that he was involved in the theater industry before he did any voice acting. Very much so. He was an actor since he was 5 or 6 years old. He always says he was dragged kicking and screaming into the industry by his brother and his friends. Sounds like he was adamant about staying where he was, or is that not quite an accurate way to put it? No, that's about right. At heart, he is a stage director. Oh, he was a stage director. How would Chris describe the difference between acting and directing? So it's at this point in the stream they were able to jump into the voice call. So I'm going to apologize right here for the sudden drop in audio quality on my end. I was not paying attention to how far my mouth was away from my microphone at the time. So I'm going to sound much more quiet than I want it to be, but lesson learned, it won't be a problem again in the future. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of the stream, you guys. I hope you learn as much as I did. As to everything that I didn't quite take the time to learn. Oh. Hey, are you alive?
Hello? Yes,
Oh.
can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Awesome. Oh, I've been trying to hop in before we answer that question. Yeah. I'm so sorry, but yeah, I was trying to answer that. Yes, Chris was a stage director. Chris, you want to say hello?
Howdy, howdy. How's everybody doing?
I think everybody's doing all right.
Hello?
Yeah. Hey there.
Can
Is
you
it-
hear me?
Is he able to hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Basically, we were just kind of all talking about how we got our starts, and just as I hopped in, we were talking about how you got started in voice acting, coming from a stage background.
I've been working on stage and acting since I was 5, and had come off the national tour of Peter Pan with Kathy Rigby, and all of a sudden I was in Texas, which is a right-to-work state, and was union, so it was hard for me to get work. So I started directing, choreographing, and fight directing, and I did that for 10, 15 years, and gradually I started noticing all of these actors that were working for me. People like Monica Rial and my brother and Chris Patton, all were doing this anime stuff. And they were like, oh, you need to do it. You do dialects, you do this, you do that. And I was always too busy. And so my brother, I mean, I was always, well, I'm in the middle of pre-production. No, I'm in the middle of text. No, I'm in the middle of auditions. No, I can't do it. I don't have time. Finally, my brother took my phone and dialed the number for the studio and said, book the damn appointment. So I did. And about 6 months later, they called me to come in for an audition. A few weeks after that, I got cast in a bit part. And then the next week, I got cast in another bit part. And I did bit parts for the better part of a year. Bit parts, small supporting role episode characters before I landed my first lead. And so I was kind of dragged into anime kicking and screaming.
I told you he'd say that.
It's I recall looking at the oh wait, I think I know what's going on there. Let me.
Oh
no, I'm hearing an echo. I thought it was. Is it? I think it's playing on your end. Anyway, but yeah, I recall looking at the list.
Let me try something really quick. It might be.
Ooh.
Let me try this.
Okay.
Put these in.
Okay, hang on just a second. We're trying something.
Sorry.
And then hand me them.
Okay. Okay. Hear me now?
Yeah,
Is that any better?
a little bit.
Hang on. Okay, try that again. Okay, hang on just a second. We're trying something out. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you much better. I can hear you much better.
Oh, cool. But yeah, I recall.
I think it is because we had you on the speakers for the computer. We had you on the speakers for the computer.
That makes sense. All right.
So,
So yeah, it's you were.
So the difference between acting and directing, that was the question that came up?
Yes. How would you like? How would
when
you
you're
describe
acting,
the difference?
Unless you're doing a show where you're playing multiple characters, this is exactly how I describe the difference. When you are an actor, unless she loves me, little me, things like that, you generally only have to worry about the one character. When you have to worry about all of the things that you would worry about as an actor for every one of the characters and all of the ensemble.
Ooh.
Now, but this is the easiest way I can describe it. ADR directing is 100 times easier than directing for stage.
ADR directing?
Stage, I was a director, a choreographer, and a fight director, which meant ADR directing for anime. Which means automated dialogue replacement, which there's nothing automated about it. It's a lot of work. But for stage, I was a director, choreographer, and fight director, which meant that if there was, was responsible for all of the blocking and the acting, all stage pictures. If there were dance numbers, I choreographed them to make sure all the dance numbers were right. If there were fights, I made sure they were staged safely and enough to convince an audience. I was also very active with my lighting designer, my scene designer, my costume designer, my sound designer, my prop designer. I worked with all of them, sometimes coming in and painting the stage myself. If people were busy, be done, and so I was the one who had to do it. There was a couple of times when scenic designers and I were at theaters till 4 and 5 in the morning painting. Sometimes lighting directors and I would start working after the rehearsal was over, and we would work till dawn, and then back the next night and do it again. I'd come home, catch a few hours sleep, and then come back to rehearsals. So that's stage directing. Directors aren't as hands-on as I am, but I'm very hands-on. For anime, all of the staging is done. If there's a dance number, all of the numbers choreographed beautifully. It's lit beautifully. The sets are all in place and look great. Nobody misses a prop. All of the props are there. The costumes look great. All I have to worry about is the act and making sure that what they're saying match the mouth flaps. So really, I have always said that directing anime is 100 times easier than directing for stage.
I can only imagine.
I love both, but it is much easier.
Yeah.
It is much easier.
I can only imagine because like as far as I can.
Sorry, taking a sip of my drink.
Yeah, it's alright. I can only imagine how much easier it is because like when I try to think of like dubbing, at least I would imagine it takes more focus to try to make the voice match the lip movements and the character movements and all that.
Well, it's interesting. I've described this before. I will leave rehearsal. Let's say I was doing West Side Story, where I'm responsible for all the acting and the blocking, the dancing, and the fighting in the show. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm in charge of all of that. I would leave rehearsals physically exhausted. Or sometimes it was all I could do to drive home. I was so tired because I'd spend 4 or 5 hours dancing my butt off or working with the fighters. Now, cut to years later, I'm directing anime, and there are some days I would work 8 to 10 hours a day or more. Sometimes I would walk in at 9 in the morning and leave at 10 o'clock at night, especially when I was contracting. And because what you're doing, you're so focused on one little thing. You're just focused on one tiny little thing, and that's the mouth movement and the acting. I would leave. I could drive home. I was physically fine. But I would come home, and people would try to talk to me, and I couldn't put a sentence together. Oh. I was mentally exhausted. So it's two different. It's focusing everything you've got on acting wise, making sure that it works flap wise, making sure that it's what the Japanese creators were intending,
right?
As you're doing it, as opposed to being physically exhausted,
right?
Because there's a lot of energy given back to the director by the actors on stage. I used to accuse my mentor of being an energy vampire because he would wear me out during rehearsals. And then I realized how wrong it was. You're giving so much of your energy, you walk out barely able to walk some nights.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So
I worked as a loader.
It's two different sides of the same coin, but I love both of them.
Yeah, I worked as a loader at my own theater where I used to live, and I recall seeing at least some of the
load in, load out
minutes. Yeah, I recall seeing some of the final minutes of some of those shows, and
that's backbreaking.
Yeah. What I did see on stage seemed very
depending on the show, that can be exhausting.
Yeah. So I can only imagine it being two entirely different.
Physically
worlds.
what?
I can only imagine it being so physically demanding.
Yeah, it really is. I have a very good friend that is a colleague in theater. It is. It's very funny though. I had a friend who is a fellow director that I've worked with for years. I've assisted her on shows. She's assisted me on shows. We've known each other since high school. I hold her in the highest regard as a director. And I said, hey, why don't you come to work with me one day and see what I do, when I'm directing ADR. And she sat the whole day with me and watched actors that she knew and actors that she didn't know record on a show. And afterwards we went out to dinner, and she said, okay, I'm just going to say that was the most amazing and interesting thing I have ever seen in my life, and I would be bored sick trying to do that. I don't know how you keep your sanity. Because literally, a lot of what you hear as an ADR, or a lot of what you do as an ADR director is go, okay, that's too fast, do a little bit slower. Okay, check that. No, that's a little bit too fast. Slow it down just a little bit more. No, now it's too slow. Speed it up just a tiny bit. Okay, can we stretch that at all? Okay, move frames to the left. Okay, let's do the next line. Okay, you mispronounced this word. It's so-and-so.
Right.
And literally, that's what it is. All day, you're sitting there. I gained so much weight, and I'm so out of shape now from directing anime that it would be very hard for me to go back and choreograph or fight direct a musical now. But I will at some point. I'm working on getting back in shape. Krystal got me. Since the surgery, I have gained an enormous amount of weight, and Krystal got me a stationary bike to help me lose some of the weight.
That's good. Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad to hear that you're actually getting better after all that.
It's a slow process. It takes a lot of time, but I thought unknowing, I told Krystal, I said, well, you go ahead and move to Dallas. I'll be 3 months tops waiting for this transplant. Then it'll be 5 or 6 months, and I'll be able to move to Dallas. And it was 3 years waiting on getting the right set of lungs, and we are almost a year out, and I'm still in the process of recovering and getting better. It's a very slow, one foot in front of the other process, but I'm making progress. There have been a few setbacks, which thank goodness I have the doctors I do, and I'm at the hospital that I am. They're incredible. I recently had to have a bronchial stent. One of my bronchial tubes, the cartilage had collapsed in it, and it was closing 75% when it exhale.
Floppy lung.
It's called floppy lung.
Ew.
And which it has nothing to do with the lungs. It has everything to do with the bronchial tube. And this process is relatively new, and very few hospitals, only the top transplant centers in the world can do it. Thank goodness I'm at Methodist in Houston. They went in and placed like a stent that you do in your heart. They placed one in my bronchial tube and left there for a month so the cartilage in my bronchial tube could rebuild itself. And then after a month, they took it out, and we haven't had any problem since.
That's fascinating.
It's right place, right time. Had I not been here at this hospital, I wouldn't have gotten that. The lungs that I got, I don't know if Krystal told you, the donor had never drank, never smoked, never done drugs, and never eaten red meat. I told surgeons, I said, it's like I got a set from the factory. A box set from the factory.
Oh wow, that's amazing. It's like getting
What? Yeah, Crystal's still here.
Yeah,
I just have the headphones in. She can't hear you guys.
Right. It's that to me. That's like
Y'all have a question.
it's like getting an injection of purity almost. Yeah, in my ears.
Pure what?
It's almost like getting an injection of like purity.
Pure what?
Just purity in general.
Yeah. That's very true. The interesting thing is we've discovered my tastes have changed. Not changed, but they've grown. And that's actually a very common phenomenon with transplants. You will sometimes take on tastes or likes of the donor. So I'm getting, because they never ate red meat, they're vegetarian. And yes, I like vegetables, but there are quite a few that I don't. The transplant, I have come to love tomatoes, as long as they're cooked, preferably blistered. I like eggplant. I like squash. I like okra. I like zucchini.
Tomatoes.
I said tomatoes. Every now and again, I will tolerate a mushroom. I'm still not that crazy about mushrooms. But it's interesting that these were all foods that I hated and would not eat. And all of a sudden, I love them.
I've heard of things like this before. Like I'm not sure. What I have heard is that memories can even be transferred between people like this.
Not had any memories. They said sometimes, and fortunately, they said sometimes your fashion sense will change. Thank goodness I still wear my Hawaiian shirts all the time. Probably much to Crystal's chagrin. Because yeah. But no, I haven't noticed any memories or anything.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's working out so well for you so far. Now, I don't want to make it seem like that's irrelevant or not quite as good, amazing, because that is fantastic news to hear. But I think I'm going to circle back around to some more questions, kind of involving your acting careers, and basically the both of you.
Not a problem.
Yeah, the both of you.
And then I'll turn you over to Krystal.
All right. But yeah, the both of you have had your own fair amount of time.
We've only got one set of headphones.
Right.
I beg pardon?
You've both been acting for a fair amount of time. How do you think it's
What was your question?
Who you guys are today?
It broke up. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. With
the internet connection here today has been spotty for me. So
I can imagine.
We're in a hotel, so.
Okay, that explains it. But with how long each of you
been
have
very
been
difficult
acting,
today.
with how long each of you have been acting in your own rights, how much do you think it's affected your careers? How it's affected you guys have become today?
In what way?
In any way, like just you as people, or how you like tend to make decisions compared to like 10, 15 years ago, for example?
I'm not sure. Krystal's doing this a while, and she's newer than I am. I think I'm a little more jaded, a lot of ways. But I also, I don't know. I really would have to ask her. The last 3 years, I've been so out of it. I mean, by the time I had my lung transplant, my breathing was down. My oxygen level was down to 11%. I was only taking in 11% oxygen with my breaths. And so there's a lot of the past 4 or 5 it's real cloudy. Now I feel more like my old self, like I did about 14 or 15 years ago, except I'm out of shape and get a little easier.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's a good sign. But when you spend almost 5 years sick, really not moving around much, that's going to play havoc on your stamina.
Makes sense.
So it's a matter of building it back up, and Krystal's helped me with that. She's made sure I eat the right things. She knows my dietary restrictions better than I do. There's so many times I say, "Oh, I want to eat this," and she goes, "No, you can't eat that." I'm like, "Why not?" She goes, "Because it will kill you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I lie up on my chart, and I'm like, "Sure enough, yeah, that would kill me." Okay, can't do that. Not so much it'll kill me. A lot of different foods will make my anti-rejection medicine inactive.
No, just grapefruit.
Well, grapefruit and pomegranates.
Grapefruit and pomegranates make it inactive. Other foods like beans, like sprout foods, foods with fungus like blue cheese and unpasteurized foods have a greater chance of giving you an infection.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but she's aware of the stuff that I can and can't do. And I'm so glad, because I would probably kill myself eating the wrong thing.
Ugh. Damn.
Not that I'm an incredible foodie. I'm a guy of very particular tastes.
She's definitely looking out for you.
If I find
amazing
something I like, then I eat that. Yeah. She's my guardian angel.
Well, on the same question, what would Krystal's answer on it be?
Oh, Krystal, what?
Yeah.
What's the question again? Hang on, I'll give you the phone. I'll give the headphones to her. Hang on just 1 second.
Right.
Here you go.
Hey, y'all.
Hey. So the
I can hear
question,
you now.
The question was for the entire time of your career, do you think it's affected how you become as a person today in any way?
How being a voice actor has affected how we became as a person today.
Yep.
I think it's so hard to say that to say for sure, because I mean it's the only way like I've lived since at my early 20s, so it's just kind of a part of who I am. I think before I hate to say it, I think I am a little more jaded as a person because
of me.
Not because of him, but in this industry, you know, before acting, I met people for the industry, I met people who are either nice to you or mean to you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
those were the two kinds of people you'd meet. They either liked you or you didn't. And once you get into this kind of industry, it becomes almost inundated with people who are so nice to you because they need something from you or they want something from you. And you realize that those can be the meanest people of all in a lot of ways. So it's made me a lot less trusting as a person. But it's when I meet someone who isn't like that, it gives me a newer appreciation for people. So I think that the actual friends that I have made are better than they would have been otherwise because I realize what a rare gem they are. So I think that it just kind of has given me the ability to feel towards others more deeply than ever before, both good and bad.
It's a great answer. Atticus?
Our cat is scratching.
Oh, no, it's just on my luggage. It's not hotel property.
You know, Atticus has definitely been like a center stone for the two of you. What is your earliest memory of being a fan of cats?
Atticus? Oh, being a fan of cats. Oh, I can tell you my earliest memory. I was not a cat fan until I went to school and I was looking into getting a pet because I was just so lonely and stressed out. And I think that every dog should have a yard. So I looked into cats, and one of our friends had said, hey, I saw you were looking at getting a cat. You know, I need to get rid of my cat. And he's a black cat, and he's old. And he's so basically in Houston, there are no kill shelters open. So if you don't take him, he'll die. And so I guess I'm a cat person. So I got this cat, and he was the meanest cat ever.
I hated
him. Chris hated him. He ripped my arm open. He would pace on our floorboards and at us while we were sleeping. But then eventually one day he just looked at me and hissed, and I was just so over it, and I hissed back, and he was done. He was like, oh, that's an alpha. And he just instantly, like overnight, became the best cat ever. Yeah. And his name was Nero, and he is best boy.
Dr. Nero
Faustus. So good. And I fell in love with Nero, and he was just my best friend. And then a few after he passed away, we were able to get a cat, and we thought we might never get a cat again because of with Chris's lungs, the hair. But then we found out that they have Sphinx cats, which have no hair. And then we met Atticus, and he just became the best boy ever.
So much the same with me. I always hated cats. Nero made me love cats.
So really, it just took one cat to be like, yeah, this is what my life is about.
Took the right cat. I wanted to kill him.
You did not.
When you ripped your arm open, I was ready to get rid of him. He ended up being a good boy.
Yeah, I'm glad that worked out. I haven't dealt with very many aggressive cats in my time.
Because you were just talking about him.
But yeah, it's I've heard stories.
That
like
is
that
a
before.
Chris question. I only had one cat before. My mom had a cat when I was little who hated my guts, but we kept a wide berth because I was only a toddler. So I never got up to the cat to be mean. Chris, I'm going to give him the headphones. You might want to repeat this question because I believe Chris has a storied history. So.
Storied history with what?
It's basically at the mention of Atticus earlier, I had asked what your earliest memory of being a fan of cats was.
Question? When Nero calmed down, I had friends that had cats, and the cats were always drawn to me, and I hate. In fact, my friend that I was talking about earlier, the other director, she had a cat named Shakespeare. And whenever I was over, she and I were working. She and I were always working. So the cat hated me. The cat one time jumped up on the table and got right in my face and bit my nose. Oh. Another jumped up on the table and slapped me in the face. And I couldn't stand cats. And Nero is really the cat that made me fall in love with cats. And now Atticus is my buddy. He's my boy.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that before where one cat will change somebody who's just absolutely against cats, and I'm glad that I actually didn't expect you two to be two more examples of it.
Oh, same here. No, I've always been a dog person my whole life. We've owned all kinds of animals. We've owned chickens, ducks, rabbits, dogs, hedgehogs, prairie dogs, conures, cockatiels, parakeets, hamsters, gerbils. You name it. Our house, we've always loved animals. The one none of us liked were cats. So it's pretty amazing that I've become a cat daddy. And a proud cat daddy.
Sorry, you cut out at that last second. The second thing was a what daddy again?
I said it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing that I became a cat daddy and a proud cat daddy.
The proud one, oh.
Did it come through that time?
Yeah, it came through.
Did it come through that time? Sweet.
Yeah, I'm noticing there's like some lag between our responses. I want to say it's like a 3 to 5 second lag.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about 2 to 4, yeah.
Yeah.
You're probably more right.
So,
and it's like I said, we're in a hotel room, so it's a pretty bad connection.
Fair enough.
I've been watching. What?
Yeah, I was going to say fair enough at the hotel connection thing.
Yeah.
You were saying you remember
But
watching
you were about
what?
to ask something? Oh no, I was earlier today. I was watching something on Shudder on my iPad, and it just stopped, and I can't even get a connection.
At the hospital, right?
Oh yeah, it all worked a lot easier at the hospital. Yeah, really good internet there.
They've got good internet. We don't get any.
We don't get crap. So, but you know what? I'm out of the hospital, and I'm glad of that. So
glad to hear that. Yeah. So
except for what?
Labs.
Except for labs, yeah. I'm still doing for labs and bronchoscopies and checkups and stuff like that.
One moment. All right, sorry about that. So another question for you, again for the both of you. It's definitely become clear, watching the both of you over time.
Wait, you're breaking up.
It's become clear watching the both of you over time that you two cherish each other very much. Would you say that the two of you have changed each other in any way?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we both changed each other for the better. I know I know that I feel like I'm a better person because she's in my life. I know that I've done a lot of stupid things in my past. There have been times when I haven't stood up for her when I should have, and I know that's been hurtful. But I know that she has made me a better person. I would absolutely say that with 100% confidence.
I'm actually really glad to hear that. What might Krystal's response on that question be?
I don't know. Hang on, I'll have to give you to her. Hang on.
Well, what?
I'll hand you over.
I'm here now.
Yeah. The question that was posed a minute ago was that after noticing you two really cherish each other, noticing this over time, I'm wondering if the two of you have changed each other in any way.
I think that the ways that Chris changed me, that I think is just, I wouldn't give it up for the world, is that he always thought that I am capable of more than I think I'm capable of. And in many ways I say, you know what, I don't think I can handle this. And he goes, sure you can. And at the time, sometimes it kind of feels like being thrown to the wolves, but every single time
I found a way to handle it, and it's definitely made me more confident in so many of my abilities than for someone to say, I don't know if you can handle this, I'll help you out and stuff. It's weird because a lot of people go into a relationship and say, I feel like I've lost part of myself, but in my sense, I think that he is the perfect partner to find out exactly who I am and what I'm capable of. So it's been an absolute blessing every single day.
That's incredible. It's it's kind of hard to find people who are like actually able to work with each other in that way and benefit each other, because it's a lot of times you just see conflict happening.
I can't hear. I heard actually able to work with each other. I can't hear anything else. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Yeah, it's.
What the question was?
Yeah, most of the time I see people just getting into these kinds of like relationships, and it just turns sour quick. It's good to see, you guys being a good example of that.
Well, thank you.
So I've probably got a few more questions. Now, when it comes to being
Absolutely.
when it comes to being a voice actor, a lot of people might think there's a lot of perks to it, but what would you guys say are the biggest challenges to the profession?
Whew. Gosh, it's almost like when you think about what a job is and what it entails, I would think that if you love performing and you don't want to be limited by your physicality to the characters that you can play, there's only so many characters that me or Chris could play on stage.
Yeah.
But we could be anyone as a voice actor.
Right, and have been.
Other than that, I think the rest are the negatives.
Yeah.
The money is not there.
Everybody thinks that voice actors and directors and people in the anime industry make a ton of money, and we don't. Mm-hmm. Basically, the work is contract work, which you're paid for the gig. You're paid by the hour, and that's it. There are no residuals, no extra money that comes in. It's just straight. It's a straight per gig operation, unless you're working for a studio as a director or a writer, full-time as a staff position. And that's a salaried position, and then it's more like a 9-to-5 job.
And then the work-life balance doesn't always measure out. Like, for example, because so many of us need day jobs, I can think of maybe less than 3 people, and no one in the anime industry that makes a living solely on anime without it being supplemented if they're just a voice actor.
Not just anime.
Either through being in a dual income household or through a day job. But I'm going to record on my lunch break, or if I'm remote recording, doing it overnight instead of sleeping. So the balance is hard, and it is very hard to find actual friends when everyone acts like they want to be your friend.
Yeah, it's very so often people who are not in the industry, where you'll meet people that want to be your friend, and no reason, they'll be your friend. We've got this in common, that in common, and then all of a sudden, 2 years later, well, I'd really like you to get me in. I'd really like you to get me an audition with so-and-so, and that becomes disheartening because you think, oh, this person has friended me because we've got these things in common, or because they like who I am as a person. And a lot of times it becomes, no, they just want you to get them work.
That being said, I love the work so much, I wouldn't give any of it up. And some of the real friends I've made, I would not do a thing different if it means I don't get to meet them.
Yeah, same here.
That's that actually kind of answers another question that I had in that, given all the negativity that seems to come with the territory of the industry, would you guys say that all of the challenges that came with it was worth it? And to follow that up, do you think you could have done anything differently if you had the chance?
Yes, it is worth it. There are a lot of things in my career which I'd done different. I'm taking to rectify them and to be better. What about you, Krystal?
It is 120% worth it for me. In terms of doing differently, I think there's not much I would do differently. I wish I went into the industry a little smarter so that I could see how people are and I could expect it a little more, because every time I find is a little less kind and beautiful in the industry than I thought it was, it feels like a gut punch. So if I went in a more savvy, I think that the emotional toll when you are hurt or disappointed would be a lot less, but that's something that I think will come with experience.
Yeah.
I've been acting over for 6 years, which is long to some people, but not nearly as long as some of the veterans in the industry who have been there and seen that. And I think that for me, that savvy can only come by going into things without it. So
yeah, true. I'm in like 17 or 18, I think. Here's the thing, much like she said, I still get surprised by things. Still stuff that catch me off guard, and I'm like, what?
Hey, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Anything?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I told you the signal here is very bad.
Yeah. Hotel connections, I don't think I've ever seen any of them actually being great anywhere I've been.
Not perfect, yeah.
Alright, I cannot recall anymore where we left off when you guys died.
I'm not sure where we died, so.
You said we were talking about things we would do differently, and I think you started talking about rectifying. No, I spoke after that.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah. I tend to babble, so who knows what I said.
It's alright. But I mean, there's still things that there's still a lot of things that people can learn just by hearing these kind of things, because it's
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget that people can always like change and make mistakes that you can still learn
Absolutely.
from. Yeah.
And that's a big thing. I think when you go into any industry, not just acting, not just this, if you see something wrong, say something.
Absolutely.
Because until people start, a lot of people will wait until it's safe to do so, and by then the damage is usually
Or
done.
until it affects them.
Or until it affects them, and by then the damage is usually done. Until you put your own comfort at risk to say, hey, this isn't right, nothing will change. So I guess the thing is if there is any skill that everyone could work on, bravery might be one of them, even though it's the hardest thing to develop, because you really, sometimes you just don't know what to do.
You have to step out on a limb.
Right.
Put your chest out.
Yeah, put your chest out. You have to put your chest out and your neck out for people.
You gotta, otherwise
And then you hope people will do that for you.
Yeah, it can easily lead to like regrets. Like I could have done something different with that, later.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it's
And as far as mistakes, here's my thing about mistakes. The only way you learn is by making mistakes.
right.
And forgiveness is just as important as bravery.
Yeah, forgiveness is just as important as bravery. But with mistakes, I mean, if let's say we said you have until you're 8 months old to learn to walk, and after that you just have to crawl or scoot around on your butt. How many of us would be scooting around on our butt or crawling? All of us, because that's the way you learn. A child learning to walk is the perfect example. They get up, they take a step, they follow their butt, they learn to adjust, and they keep learning, and they keep making mistakes, and they keep doing trial and error, and eventually they learn to walk and then run and skip and then tap dance.
One step at a time, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So-
would you say it's just as important to learn to have to forgive yourself for things?
Yes.
Not yourself. I
I think you have to
other
forgive
people.
you have to forgive other people. You
I
also
think
have to
we
forgive
do.
yourself.
I think we already forgive ourselves very easily. A lot of the
A
time.
lot of people don't, though.
That's true.
But
I
yeah,
think being able to forgive other people allows them the freedom to make mistakes, own up to them, and then say, I will do better next time.
Yeah.
But when you're so quick to pull the guillotine and make sure there is no next time, then nobody will ever own up to when they're wrong, and they'll double down so that when people do speak out, they just hurt those people. I mean, it's got to be a two-way street.
I had that recently. I had a good friend that's been a friend of mine for years that did something that really bothered and hurt me. And I gave them a chance to apologize, and they doubled down on all the reasons they were right to be as ugly as they were. And I gave them another chance. And they, again, a few months later, I gave them another chance. They doubled down again, fussing at me that they were absolutely right to do everything that they did. And on the third time, when I gave them a third chance, they doubled down again. And I said, you know what? Done.
And they were shocked.
And they were shocked. But, I basically tore the page out of my book. Because I gave them chance after chance to say I'm sorry. And that was all it would take, was an apology. And they were too, I don't know what, to actually apologize. So, c'est la vie, c'est la guerre, as my old theater teacher used to say.
I think my thing is just any industry can use more kindness.
Yes.
And ironically, I've learned the importance of that more as a lawyer than as an actor, because so many of the lawyers I've met kind of just shine kindness out of everything they do. And they say, look, it doesn't cost me anything to be kind. People's lives are hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
By just adding kindness to all of your actions, you can at least make everything a little bit easier on everyone.
Yeah, it's true. In a similar note, a lot of my hospital staff love working with me because I made myself a promise when I started this whole ordeal almost 4 years ago, or a little over 4 years ago now, that everybody that I came into contact with at the hospital, every doctor, every nurse, every assistant nurse, every janitor that came to clean the room, every person that dropped off my food, every respiratory therapist, that everybody would have a better day for having been there than if they hadn't come to deal with me. And it's like Krystal said, it takes nothing to be nice to someone.
Right.
And you would be amazed at what a difference it makes in people's lives.
I think many of us would be amazed at how much of a difference it could make, because I think it might be very easy to forget the human side of virtually any profession.
True. As like Krystal said, it takes nothing to be kind to someone. It takes nothing from your day or your soul or your wallet to be nice to someone.
Right.
And did I achieve that every day? No. There were a couple of instances where I got downright snippy. And when Krystal was there, she told me I was being a jerk. And when she was on the phone, she said, oh, wow, you were a little rude today.
And I think we're all so afraid to ever admit that we did things the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
After the first time, Chris would be like, so I was a dick. And the nurse would laugh and stuff. And it doesn't hurt to say, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or I'm wrong. Sorry, my bad. Never hurts.
Right. It's, in my experience with being on both ends of that kind of thing, I feel like pride has been kind of the bigger factor, at least for me, and just admitting I did something wrong.
For everyone.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, and that's for everyone. Wow, we're getting off of philosophical.
Well, I think this ties sort of to one of the questions I had, because I mentioned earlier that it can be easy to forget the human side of any field, really, but it seems kind of like it's especially easy for that to happen in the creative industry, whether you're a voice actor, director, animator, whatever it is.
Well, I think in some ways you're right, and in other ways I disagree. I think creative people are very empathetic. As an actor, you have to be willing to place yourself in the shoes of other people and live their lives on stage or on screen or in anime, which means opening yourself up to a lot. But by the same token, especially for actors and directors, not as much, somewhat for writers Not as much for the technical end. To some extent, though, yes. People will treat you like a rock star because they enjoy what you do, they like what you do, and it's very easy. I told some people who were newer actors one time. We went to a convention, and I said, "Look, it is going to be very hard for this to happen." I said, "You're going to get there. You're going to get to this convention, and these people are going to treat you like a rock star. They're going to be so excited to see you and to meet you and to talk to you. And when that happens, it becomes very easy to think, well, you know what? I'm a superstar. I'm fantastic." And then you start to not appreciate the people that are helping you. The staff of the convention, the fans who are there. One of the actresses, the second convention I went to with her, she was thirsty. And a staff member was coming back, and she went and started snapping at him. And they said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "I need some water." And when they walked away, I said, "Did you just snap at that young lady?" And she realized, oh my God. And when the girl came back with the water, she's like, "I am so sorry. I did not mean to snap at you. I really apologize." It's very easy when people make a big deal out of what you do to think you're more important than you are. And here's the thing. A lot of actors will disagree with me. I don't think actors, directors, or writers are any better than anybody else who's in the room. And you've got to really work hard to keep your head on straight, because of the way people react. And people say, "Oh, well, you guys are celebrities." No, we're not. We've got a certain degree of notoriety within a niche industry. If you want to say famous, I can't go into Denny's and they give me free food. I say, "I'd like a hamburger," and they say, "Well, that'll be $6.50."
Right.
Or however much it is. Krystal can't do that. None of us can.
Yeah, but the nice thing is that we can go into a Denny's without being recognized even once within our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that luxury, I hold privacy very, very dear to me. If you don't get the luxury of privacy, you don't get to call yourself famous. Even trade to me.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's a good point. Yeah, I can only imagine how that would be, because I'm pretty sure we've all heard, people like complaining about how paparazzi are around every corner, or there's always some fan like begging them to sign or do something. Within like the voice actors,
Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Harry Potter, has to wear the same tracksuit every time he goes out, so that the photos taken by paparazzi are not worth as much because he's in the same outfit, so you can't tell where he's going, what day and time it is, so that they don't take as many. If I don't have to go through that rigmarole just to go to 7-Eleven to get a slushie, then I'm not even gonna try to call myself famous or a celebrity, because I have not had to put up with so much of the garbage that they do.
It's part of why I'm afraid of even doing a face reveal, because it's like, if people can't even recognize my face, no matter how few people it is.
The main time we get recognized is at conventions.
Right.
The only time. Every now and again, if like when you're in Houston, you'll be somewhere and somebody that has met you at a convention will be somewhere that you are, and they'll come up and say hi, and that's fine. The funniest for me was that several of my doctors were Dragon Ball fans.
Oh.
And really, like, one of my transplant surgeons was a huge Dragon Ball fan, and completely freaked out when he found out that he had done a lung transplant for Frieza.
I take it back. My mom's postman is
That's
a fan
funny.
of Has-Been Hotel, and recognized my name when she was mailing us she found an infrared thermometer in Lysol. We couldn't find any here in Texas. So when she was mailing that. So that is the really, I think, maybe one of 2 or 3 times ever.
And she was so tickled.
My mom was so tickled.
It meant the world to her that Krystal was recognized. It was so beautiful.
We do like less than 3 times in a lifetime.
But even then, it hasn't been like any kind of a truly negative experience, right?
No.
No.
Right. So it's
No.
it sounds like there's definitely okay, well, I don't know if I would really want to say it's like an advantage to, being an actor within like such a niche space as like voice acting, dubbing for anime and such.
Oh my gosh, no, it is absolutely that is one of the perks. You get to do what you love, and you don't have to deal with any with a huge lack of privacy.
Yeah, I'm real weird about that. As a stage director, my directing headshot always had a beard. And 9 times out of 10, I would shave just before opening night.
Oh.
So that I didn't look like my headshot. Because when you're a director, if people in the audience realize you're a director, they're going to come and say, "Oh, that was wonderful, that was wonderful." And you never hear what they really think. Whereas if they don't recognize you, well, Act 2 was a little slow. Well, that number in Act 1 was really off. And then I hear and I go, okay, well, this didn't work and that worked and this didn't work. And then I fix it. But you don't get a real impression if they know it's you. So I like having my privacy.
That's definitely understandable. I guess that part can make me go into like the other half of that same question. Like, do you think it's easy for people to forget the human side of the actors? Like,
yes.
One example I can bring up is the Last of Us Part 2. One of the voice actresses for one of the characters started getting a lot of heat from people.
Our friend Laura.
Because of the way the character was like portrayed or something. I'm just
I've been slapped at conventions because somebody didn't like my work.
Right.
And then there have been stalker situations for a number of us.
I got some weird emails.
Krystal got some weird emails. I've lost my place. I was going to say something very important. Oh, yeah.
People get mad that you're not the character.
People get really mad that you're not the character. I can't tell you how many people I have to correct and say, no, I'm Chris, not Frieza. No, my name is Chris. No, I'm Chris Ayres. And the same with our cat. Because we have a Sphinx, and Lord Beerus was based on a Sphinx, everybody calls Atticus Beerus online. And I say, no, his name is Atticus. That's just my common response. To the point that now when somebody says it, a lot of people that follow me go, no, his name is Atticus, before I can even get to it. But it's very weird when people come up to you and start talking to you as if you were the character, or call you by the character name when it's not your name. But it's very funny. I play a lot of villains and bad guys, and I try to be as far from that as possible. And so many people are apprehensive to approach me because they think I'm going to be a jerk or mean or yell at them. And they're kind of shocked when I'm, this fairly spazzy, at times soft-spoken guy.
I guess that's it. I can guess how that makes sense. I can see how that makes sense. This is like, it's been a while since I've really like taken a dive into like Dragon Ball Z, for example.
Right.
So like whenever I have seen anything from at least when you started voicing Frieza, it's always been like, yeah, I can. This is I see how the voice works, and then I hear you outside of that, and I'm just like, it can be, I don't want to say jarring to hear the difference, but you definitely notice it.
Unless I laugh.
Yeah.
If I really get tickled and laugh, my laugh is almost exactly the same as Frieza's.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Except right now I'm having a problem laughing just because my diaphragm is still learning to work from the surgery. And so it's not coming out quite my normal laugh. Ooh. She would tickle me if she knew it wouldn't hurt, but I've got 4 bruised ribs right now from coughing so much.
So you even have to be careful about comedies.
I just worry that people are going to come up and expect Krystal to be as psychotic as Cherry Bomb. Because she is far from that.
No, I think people do expect me to be a little more fun and sassy, though, and I'm just like,
you are sassy.
Hi, my name's Krystal, and I like toast and cats, and that's pretty much all there is.
I mean, that's fair.
Toast is great.
Toast is great.
It is great. I got to make some toast again at some point.
I had some this morning.
I do have one question from an audience, and it's
Sweet.
yeah, it's geared for Chris. It's from somebody in a group that I'm a part of, but their username goes by Nyan Sprinkles.
Okay.
She says I
Hi,
remember.
Nyan Sprinkles.
She says, I remember as a child, my brothers would always make me watch DBZ with them, and even had some of the games. And says, you did a great job voicing as Frieza, and I hope you guys are able to reach the goal. Referring to your the
Thank you
campaign
so
coming
much.
out. She asks,
A little bit helps.
Yeah, like even like $1-2 can help
Yep.
out a lot, and just sharing the link goes a long way.
Absolutely.
But
That's what I tell people. Even if you can't donate, please boost the link.
Oh yeah, I must have lost my mind with how many times I was trying to say that, a couple weeks ago. But she goes on to ask, what did you enjoy the most about playing as Frieza?
I think I have always loved villains since I was a child. There's a famous line in Peter Pan. When children play at Peter Pan, everyone wants to be Peter. No one wants to be. They force the baby to be Hook. The baby. No, I was that child that wanted to be Captain Hook. In fact, I wanted to be Captain Hook and Mr. Smee. And I wanted to be Frankenstein's monster. And I wanted to be Darth Vader. And I wanted to be. I was the kid that wanted to be the villain. And then as I got older, got into theater, I discovered roles like Iago in Othello and Richard III, which are both still dream roles for me. And so to play someone that is not just a villain, but knows it and delights in it and has so much fun and has such rich, almost Shakespearean dialogue at times, it's a dream come true.
Especially as someone like you came from theater acting or theater.
And I've got a hardcore background in Shakespearean musical theater. And when they first started writing Kai, the writer was J. Michael Tatum. And Michael and I have had long, in-depth discussions about Shakespeare. I did Romeo x Juliet for him, which was written in an almost Shakespearean language. And I was one of the few actors that just came in and just rolled off my tongue. And he knows that I'm a huge Shakespeare fanatic. And so he wrote it, even prior to my being cast, he wrote it with my voice in mind. And my ability to handle really thick dialogue like that. And when you write a line like, once again, my dreams of immortality have been crushed against the shores of your incompetence, you can't get much better than that to chew into as an actor.
I'm starting to wonder now how that actually, like, do you find there's like different things you enjoy specifically about playing like the protagonist or the antagonist, or is there like, how would you
I think villains are a lot more interesting than heroes. I played heroes and I played villains. And unless the hero is deeply flawed, like Kei Kurono in Gantz, he's a very flawed human being. That was interesting. I would much rather take a small role with an interesting story than have the lead in anything. To me, it's all about what I can find fun and interesting. And I will take 100 episode characters that are fascinating to me than one lead that bores the hell out of me.
I suppose you got to find your own way to enjoy the profession if you're gonna enjoy it enough to keep going with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is, as a director, I don't perform as much. And I can very often say, well, I'm busy. I'm working on the show, so I can't. I really, I've got this. I've got 15 actors coming in today. I just don't have time to record that. And they find somebody else. Whereas, if it's something that's really interesting, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll figure out a way to work that in. Which is why I don't perform as much anymore.
Oh. Well, you did say
because really my focus is directing.
Yeah, because you did say with directing, it took a lot of like focus on so many different elements.
Right.
And then I'd imagine you came out of a lot of that directing mentally exhausted, and then compare that to physically exhausted with the choreo. Yeah. It's,
Exactly.
That's it.
Two different types of exhaustion.
Yeah.
And it's the same with voice acting. Krystal will tell you if you've got a long session, that is mentally and physically draining.
Oh. Because you stand a lot in those booths if they are booth sessions?
Well, we do. I stand too. A lot of some actors will sit. I don't find I have full access to my voice, and I can't do everything that I would normally be able to do if I'm sitting.
Right.
So I always stand. It doesn't matter how long the session is. I will sit between takes. I will sit, but it's very rare that I will sit while I'm recording. Unless it's something that is so easy and I know I'm not having to scream and it's just straight dialogue and it's close to my own voice. And even then, I usually stand for most of it. And you're the same way. We're both kind of that way.
You both are? Yeah. I can only imagine it's like, because with Krystal, she's in law school still, right?
No, she's a lawyer.
Oh, she is now a full-time lawyer. Okay.
Yeah.
I got licensed in 2018.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm glad to hear that. But I'd imagine, like, in any of the trials you go into, it takes a lot of, like, standing, maybe pacing around in the courtroom.
No, actually, for the most part, in Texas federal court, they prefer remain seated unless you ask to approach the witness, and then sometimes in a trial you no longer have to ask to approach, but for the most part we stay seated at a desk.
Okay. I didn't know that because I haven't had much exposure to, like, courtrooms and how it all works inside, like what the etiquette is, so
yeah.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah, be glad.
I'm always happy when people don't have when people have not been too familiar with criminal court.
Because I've only heard a couple of, like, different horror stories, at least from where I'm from in California, and they can be some gruesome stories. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're getting to that 2-hour mark. I'm not sure if you guys want to keep going or.
If you guys want to go till 10, because I got hopped on, fine with me.
So we can go a little later.
A little later, yeah, because I don't have too many other questions in regards to this. Because
okay,
you might have, like, noticed a little bit of the theme that I'm trying to go with here is, like, trying to learn more about, like, the human side of just about everything, and what kind of experience we can learn from. Because I'm hoping people can come out of this being a little bit better, or at least knowing a little bit more.
Well, I will tell you this: you ask questions that we've not gotten before in any of these.
Really,
which is wonderful, and I always look forward to that.
I always thought that somebody would have at least asked one of these questions at some point in the past. I'm surprised.
Not only that, but when we do in some interviews, when we get yelled at in the chat when we start talking about anything to do with real life or deviating from doing it in our character voices. So being able to actually, like, go on an interview and talk as ourselves is so refreshing and fun. I'm
glad to hear that, actually. Because, it's like, for me, I'm only taking my own first steps into doing any kind of voice work only now. I'm 28. And even I'm looking back on it and I'm going, I should have just stuck with it when I first tried it, like, 8-9 years ago.
Here's the thing, man. It's never too late. Wilford Brimley did not start acting until he was in his. And you look at the incredible career he had.
Yeah, it's like, what was it? Even Morgan Freeman didn't get started until his, like, what, 50s, I think?
No.
He was on Reading Rail.
He was on Electric Company when I was a child.
Really?
No, he's done quite a bit. He's been around for a long time.
I didn't know that.
He did theater and Electric Company, and he was Easy Reader.
Damn.
It's an amazing film that's hard to find now with Christopher Reeve called Street Smart, where he plays a pimp. And it's the first film I remember seeing. I know he's done stuff before that. It's one of the first films I remember seeing him in, and he was terrifying.
Really?
Yeah. Can't remember the name of the character, but I remember the film is called Street Smart. I'm kind of a film fanatic. So
I can tell. It's kind of a new concept to me because my main familiarity with Christopher Reeve is, Superman, obviously.
Right.
So you heard me. I hear you saying he once played a pimp, and I'm like, that's new.
No, Morgan Freeman played the pimp.
Oh, Morgan Freeman did.
Christopher Reeves plays a reporter that writes this fake story. And it actually mirrors the life of this pimp who ends up out to get him. It's a fabulous film.
What was the name of
But
it?
nobody's ever heard of it now.
What was the name of it again?
Street Smart.
Street Smart. That's,
Yeah.
I assume that's 2 words?
2 words, Street Smart.
All right, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Good cast.
That's, I got.
Where are you in California?
What was that?
Where are you in California?
Central Valley. I'm actually in the Sacramento area.
Are you okay? I know that the fires have been going on.
Yeah.
So, the fires have been going on. They haven't been anywhere I can really see any of the glow from the fire, but the smoke has definitely invaded the valley.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
It wasn't quite as bad as it was a couple years ago when the campfire happened and Paradise was almost wiped off the map.
That's a huge fear for us because of the breathing quality.
Oh yeah, it was.
And so, Chris, imagine if you had to deal with that.
Oy.
Ooh.
That's it. Morgan Freeman plays a character called Fast Black.
Oh, is that the name of the character you played in it?
The character, yeah.
Yeah.
It was made in 1987.
Ooh,
Kathy Baker's in it. Mimi Rogers is in it.
Damn.
Andre Gregory. Good cast.
Damn. Now I definitely have to check that out. If it's 80s, my dad made me grow up on 80s movies practically. But yeah, it's the smoke has been disappearing, which is good. Didn't last nearly as long as the campfire smoke did, which just when the campfire was going, you almost couldn't see more than 15 feet in front of you. At least at its worst. So it's good that it wasn't as bad as before, but it's still horrifying that it's happening to begin with.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
Got so many friends out in LA that I worry for.
yeah, I can only imagine.
I will be right back. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
Fair enough.
Crystal, take over.
Okay.
I heard the same with these ribs.
So yeah, things are getting a little bit better over here now. Because hearing from other people who were involved in the fires, I'm like, that's gotta suck. I haven't been close enough to those fires to be affected by them, but it's still tough to hear about what happens and
Absolutely.
I'm even trying to figure out where I can go because the podcast group I'm a part of, we've talked about wanting to do a charity stream to try to raise some money to help out victims of this fire. But I got to figure out, who was affected by it and where we can go to help.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
Sorry, you cut out there for a minute.
Hello?
There you are. So
there we are.
Yeah, you were saying what?
Just to see if there's a charity where you can where they're collecting a fund to help out the people.
Oh yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Because it's even with this, I don't want to touch any of the money myself. I want people to go directly to it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's because I recall hearing something about there's some legal processes to be able to take money and then move it to a charity fund or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, we still got to figure out that end for us. So that's going to be a fun process to figure out if we do that.
Well, if y'all are donating straight from yours, that's fine.
Is it?
It's basically the process in setting up the GoFundMe and stuff.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
It has to be done a certain way, and yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes some. That clarifies that a little bit for us.
Glad to help.
But I guess, short barring any more questions from the from our audience, I guess my last question for you guys would be, if you guys have any advice for people that are wanting to get into the creative industry, no matter what specific profession it is.
No matter what creative. That's a good.
It varies from creative industry to creative industry, though.
Right.
It's kind of a hard, and there's a lot of creative industries
You know what?
that I know nothing about.
I think, at least with voice acting, they will always tell you before you become a voice actor, you have to be an actor and you have to train, but also recognize that there are resources to train with online as well. I think that if you are good at looking up resources, there are YouTube videos that teach dialect, breathing techniques, acting. I have found so many acting videos on YouTube put out by amazing theater teachers for free that you can benefit from just as much as a class that you paid for, just maybe not as much as one of you've attended, but right now, since we can't do anything, don't be afraid to utilize those resources.
And read everything you can. I am constantly reading new things. I've got right now on my Kindle, I'm in the middle of 2 new acting theory books, a new directing theory book, and a new improvisational theory book, as well as almost being finished with Stephen King's new novel, It Bleeds, or his new collection of novellas. You can learn. I one time heard you can learn a lot if you have somebody you like. For instance, I'm a huge fan of Bob Fosse's. I watched every documentary I could find on him. I studied everything he ever danced in. I studied everything he ever choreographed. And read every biography on him and the way he worked and his process of working, and to try to figure out because if you can figure out the way somebody thinks when they're working, you can achieve close to the same results, or you can come as close as you possibly can. And I was lucky enough to be able to study under one of Bob Fosse's best friends for 2 years. So it's very easy. I'm constantly reading biographies of people that I admire, and not just actors, writers, all kinds of people. Because I think I had an acting teacher tell me one time, don't just study acting. Because if all you can talk about or know is acting, then you have nothing to bring to your work. Learn as much as you can about everything you can. Read fantasy, read fiction, read biography, read history. Become a student of everything. And you'll be better off in the long run. And never stop learning.
I think that's some fantastic advice, actually.
That just comes from my mentor, not me. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you so much.
Did Neil bring you
I was
something?
thinking Neil Sinclair.
Oh.
She thought I was thinking, I was actually thinking Neil Sinclair.
Oh, Neil, okay.
You're thinking, my name isn't Neil.
Andrew.
Yeah. For saying it, I actually got confused for a moment on what the, because I recall you guys have 2 cats? Or was that Krystal?
No, kind of. So I live with my roommate in Dallas, and I have Atticus, and he has Chairman Meow, but we actually found Chairman Meow together like 8 or 9 years ago. So he's always kind of been a community cat, and we both take care of him. And during the pandemic, when he comes over to visit his girlfriend in Houston, he'll drop Chairman Meow off with us, so he still gets to visit. So I've kind of got 1.5 cats. Because he's very much our cat, but he is also a daddy's boy. So
he loves his daddy.
He loves Steven. He loves my roommate's name is Steven. He loves Steven so much.
He does.
That it really is his cat.
Yeah.
But I love him so much too.
Yeah. My own cats are we got two of them, and one of them is always like always trying to snuggle me. Or it's like even earlier today, I was accidentally like kind of kicking him because he decided to lay down right next to my computer at my feet, and I didn't notice him. But this cat is just always close by, ready to just like go anywhere around the house with me.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
What's their name?
The male's name is Liam. The other cat is Sheba, but she's a little more shy, and I think she's actually like starting. I think she's actually starting to get a little more advanced in age, because some of those signs are showing.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I can definitely get it with cats in that they can be very loving.
They can be, and I never knew that until Nero.
Yeah, because I've seen a couple of the pictures you guys posted for Nero. I can't remember what was that for, like Cat Recognition Day or something.
Cat Recognition Day, yeah, Black Cat Recognition Day.
Yeah, Black Cat Appreciation Day. We post for his birthday and for the day that he passed away. Because he's still our buddy, and he's kind of always with us, so we still wished him happy birthday and everything.
Yeah, because the pictures I did see, he was an absolutely gorgeous cat.
He's a beautiful boy.
He was. He was. His favorite thing was pizza boxes.
Oh my lord.
If he loved to sit in a pizza box. Like if you got pizza, he was like, "Oh my god, boy!" And we would have to like package up the pizza in Ziploc bags so he could have the box like ASAP.
Immediately. Because if you didn't get the
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
He opened the box and sat on the pizza.
Cat's obsessions with boxes is always something that's just going to completely escape me. I will never understand it.
I think it's a feeling of being enclosed. If you put a square of string on the floor, they will sit in it. They feel enclosed and therefore safe or protected.
That's an interesting idea. I'm gonna have to.
I've seen video of it. So.
Oh man, cats are nuts.
They are.
Cats are very nuts. But yeah, I don't think I've got much else for you guys. Thank you both very much for taking the time to answer some of these questions with me tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us, and thank you for promoting the GoFundMe.
I'm gonna keep promoting it because honestly, you guys have been, from everything that I've seen from you guys since I started following you two, you guys have been like a bit more of a better example for how people can learn and do better. From just
thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. That means the world.
It's just as much it means the world to me that you guys are like this to begin with, because it's actually kind of it's encouraging to see that people that can't, not that I hold you guys on a pedestal, but people that can easily be held on a pedestal like you guys can just as much learn as anyone else, and I'm really glad to hear that, or to know that.
This is gonna sound pretty bad, but whenever I know this sounds awful, but when you do look at people in the industry and they're on a pedestal, be sure to look behind the pedestal, because you will probably see a stepladder. It does not matter how many roles we've done. You can track me and Chris down 10 years from now. God, if we've been in freaking blockbuster movies and you ever let us make you feel small, feel free to hit us with a bat, because I don't actually hit anyone with a bat, but don't let anyone ever let you feel small, and if you're doing an interview with someone and they treat you like you're just taking up their time don't do the interview.
Yeah, cut it short.
Cut it short.
They're not worth your time.
No.
And my whole thing is, I always ask people, I told my students used to tell me, "Oh, I hold you." I was a guest artist with schools for years, and it's working with students and working with actors is something I love. And I had a student one time say, "I hold you on such a pedestal." And I told my mentor, Sydney, that one time, and he said, "Please don't." He said, "Please don't ever put me on a pedestal." And I said, why? And he said, because if you're on a pedestal, the only place you can go is down. He said, I'd rather meet you as a human being one-on-one, as an equal.
Right.
And that's something that always stuck with me. So I never want to be on a pedestal for anybody. I'd rather meet them as human beings, face-to-face and one-on-one as human beings.
That's fair. It's because it can be, for me, it can be a terrifying thing to know that people hold you in such a high regard, but as soon as you don't meet those expectations 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they just...
There's nowhere to, as Sydney said, there's nowhere to go but down.
Right. I guess that's some pretty good advice.
Again, all of my good advice comes from my mentor and people that I've learned from.
What did you say his name was again?
Sidney Berger.
Sidney Berger.
He's unfortunately passed away a number of years ago.
Ah, I assume that's B-E-R-G-E-R?
B-E-R-G-E-R, Dr. Sidney Berger. He was the chairman of the department at U of H, University of Houston for years. I worked with him for the first time when I was 13 years old, and then went to U of H specifically to study with him. 98% of the way I work, no, 95% of the way I work as an actor is because of him, and 99.5% of the way I work as a director is because of him.
Did he ever put out like any books or anything that somebody can read?
Published one paper on Shakespeare that you can find on Amazon for like $90. So I mean, I really wanted to buy it. It's basically a academic journal type thing. No, he never wrote anything. There's very little footage of him. The only footage I can find of him on YouTube, unfortunately, oh my Lord, he was a very silly man, and he's talking about his friend Bill, and you realize about midway through he's talking about Bill Shakespeare, and he's talking like he just had lunch with him Thursday, and talking like they're good friends. And it was him being silly, and somebody posted it. And so I'm always very reticent to say, oh yeah, you can find it on YouTube, because that one clip, he seems like a madman. But it's very funny. He is in the film, the original film Carnival of Souls, which is a classic cult horror film. They made it when he was in college, and he plays the very sleazy, slimy next door neighbor to the female lead who spies in on her while she's taking a bath. The very interesting thing is Sydney has a glass eye. Had a glass eye from very young, and the eye that is actually looking through the peephole at her was his glass eye.
Ooh.
And he was actually doing a crossword puzzle while they shot his eye through the keyhole. So yeah, he was a huge influence on my life as an actor and as a director.
All right. I guess he really taught a lot of acting teachers teach a technique, and well, this is my technique. And Sidney taught more of a craft. He taught you to find what worked for you, and to build your own technique through craft. And I think as an actor and as a director, that's very important. And yes, have I been influenced by other people? Yes. I've been influenced by all of my mentors. Neil, Jeanette, Una, certainly, Sydney, Claude, Stuart. And they have helped me do what Sydney termed as processing your own technique, both as an actor and a director. Right.
But it's through him that I learned to take those separate pieces and create what worked for me. And I will say this, as a stage director and even as an ADR director, the way that I work doesn't necessarily work for all the actors. And then it's your job to say, okay, well, what other techniques do I have in my bag that I can use to work with this actor to get the right performance out of him?
I think it's fair to say that that's the kind of mindset to carry with like pretty much any profession.
You have to.
Yep.
You learn as much as you can from as many people as you can. And you take what works for you. Sydney one time said, I sat on a beginning class of his, and he said, okay, look, I'm going to teach you a way of working. I'm going to teach you to figure out a way of working. And if this doesn't work for you, then it's crap. And there are 5 other teachers in this department, and you might. I said my suggestion would be to go and find one whose methods work for you. He said I encourage you not to drop this class because maybe one or two things I say 8 or 9 years down the road will pay off and you'll be able to use them. And not a problem. And I'd never met, I mean, I was already a huge fan of his, and he was the reason I was there. And I was just auditing this beginning acting class. And it solidified why he's one of my primary mentors. I'd never seen someone who was so assured of his method of working that he was willing to say, okay, this whole thing might be crap. If it doesn't work, then it is crap. And that was so refreshing because so many people as actors or directors will say, well, this is the only way to do it. And if you don't do it this way, you're wrong. Well, no, that's crap. And as Sydney explained, it's crap. If it doesn't work for you as an actor or as a director, then it doesn't work for you. And it was so refreshing. I'd never seen that before. Sorry, I'm getting philosophical about old friends.
It's all right. I think it's a lot of I can talk, I swear.
It's all good.
I think there's a good amount of stuff to learn from that that's kind of necessary because it can be easy to just say basically anything that won't help you. That for me, that's a lot of what can help is just being open to new information.
Absolutely, you've got to always be learning. One of the things that I tell people, one of the things that people that what's something that'll help me as a voice actor? I will tell you something that I tell everyone. There's a piece of advice that I got from Sydney that has nothing to do with voice acting. It has everything to do with cold read auditions. And for those who don't know, a lot of auditions are monologue, where you go and you do a set monologue that you've already worked up. Sometimes you go and you have to cold read, where they give you a script, you have a couple of minutes to look it over, and you just read it.
Right.
Sometimes with a reader, sometimes with another actor. And a lot of actors dread cold reading because you don't have very long. Sometimes they hand it to you and say go, which is very much like voice acting. We don't get the scripts prior to coming in. We don't get to work on them or look at them. We see them and we see the line and we do the line. And Sydney said, if you want to get good at cold reading, here's my advice. 10 minutes a day, read out loud. Doesn't matter what it is. Newspaper, book, play, read for intelligence, read for performance. He said, but the most important thing is make sure that what you're hearing in your head is what's coming out of your mouth. And that's a piece of advice anybody can do. You want to be a voice actor? Learn to read and interpret immediately and have what's in your head come out of your mouth. And that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I give people that are interested in becoming voice actors specifically for anime. Everything you do is a cold read. The other big piece of advice I give, get as much and learn as much about improvisation training as you can. It will help you so much in the long run. So many voice actors are phenomenal improvisers.
I would have almost expected that second bit to be especially like more. I don't think relevant is the right word, but maybe important for people who do like live acting, because they still have to do like body expression and all that stuff in addition to voice work. But to hear
here's the thing, voice acting is harder.
Is it?
Yes. When I'm on stage, I've got my whole body, my face, and everything to convey the emotion. In voice acting, all you've got is your voice.
That's why it helps to stand.
That's why, in my opinion, I agree with Krystal. That's why it helps to stand. But it's very often you'll give a line read and the director will say, "No, I need it angrier." Well, if you've got to go through this whole process of getting angry, that's going to take you forever, and you're going to end up losing work.
Right.
But an improviser is used to being able to change things on the fly immediately, based on the slightest suggestion, and the willingness to drop everything that you think you know and go in a different direction. And that is very, very necessary and very, very helpful as a voice actor.
I can see how that makes sense now.
Of course, I think improvisation training is important for any kind of acting.
Right. I can also see it,
and it's very often ignored.
I mean, I can also see it working pretty well in like personal interactions. To like, if things are like, you don't want to show up to everything and everything always be so serious, and you want to try to have fun with like a group of friends you go out with, your family, whoever it is.
Absolutely.
I imagine that can make those situations a lot more fun.
Absolutely. And improvisation can be comedic or dramatic. I've seen both done brilliantly. So, people think when you say improvisation, you're only meaning... Nope. The training you get as an improviser in listening and reacting are vital for both doing drama and comedy.
All right. Guess it's something to keep down in the notes and start digging more into.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hearing all that is definitely appreciated, because there's always people that are asking these kind of questions in many different places, and it's a lot of this is I kind of want this to be kind of like a good common reference point, if it can be used as one for something like that.
Sweet.
But I don't think I have much else for you guys after that. Thank you both so much for your time tonight.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
This has definitely been very fun, very entertaining, and very enlightening, quite honestly.
Oh, thank you
so
so
glad.
much. Yeah, I'm so glad too.
But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll keep pushing to get more help for Chris, because that's...
Thank you much.
Thank you so much. And yeah, if you ever want us back again, absolutely. And
please
hopefully,
let us know.
yeah, hopefully it won't be on the same day as something else, and I will not be late again.
No worries, because
my fault.
It is no problem at all, because I was watching most of that, and I'm like, I definitely know how this happens. I used to run things like that all the time, before current events. And
I didn't know though. Like I've never RP'd before.
Ooh.
It was like so much more that I thought it was like gonna play a board game. I was expecting an hour, and then they said it shouldn't take longer than 3 hours, and I'm like, oh yeah, if it starts at 4, then it'll go till 7, and like it's not, with a board game you get the card and then you move.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you're both. I'm assuming the way Chris is looking at me is the way looking at the computer screen. I did not know what role playing is. It was like life changing. I'm gonna do it again. But oh my god, there's like so much more to it than a board game.
Oh yeah, it can be so much fun, but man, there are times, if you're not careful, it can really take a lot of time.
Oh my god, like I probably just lost the respect of everyone being like, I didn't know it wasn't like, I had no idea that it was like different than Uno.
When I was in high school, we had a D&D game that went on 13 hours.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I could so do that though.
Yeah.
We weren't even aware of the time. If you watched it, did you see the Atticus art?
Oh no, I didn't get to see that actually.
Oh my god, let me see if I can post a picture of the art. Okay, someone did like custom art for it, and my character was Atticus because I don't have an imagination.
Yes, you do.
And so it was Atticus Finks Esquire, and he was a prosecutor, and he was
He's a cat person.
He little Finks.
Did it come through?
Oh my god.
Look at him! Ah!
Let me. You guys mind if I share this on the stream real quick for the last minute?
Absolutely not.
Window capture. There we go.
That's her character.
This is it.
Oh, they even got the blue eyes.
That's...
She
Oh my
was
god, that's
nuts.
adorable.
Absolutely. They did, and like they did the monsters.
Morgane, she was the one who played the werewolf, but it was like I can't handle when people are good at art. It just is mind numbingly impressive.
See, I was a D&D and Risk guy. Those were the only two I really played.
Yeah, I've
Next
been
time they do one, you've got to join.
I may.
I've been doing a lot of Pathfinder and Starfinder lately, but I've also touched into Shadowrun and Legend of the Five Rings before.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh yeah, it's been a while, but they're so much fun. So
Yeah, I loved Rift because it was a combination of magic and technology. Set in the future.
I always enjoy science fantasy. It's always so much fun. But yeah, thank you guys again. Hope you two have a wonderful night, and hopefully, if we get to do this again, we'll have probably something new and just as enlightening to talk about in the future.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Have a great night.
You as well.
Bye.
Bye.